Want to sit in the big boy chair? You got to take responsibility, guys. You got to take responsibility. I watched one of my vloggers that I love to watch. He does some nice trips around and such. And he's an overstay. Not just a short overstay, guys. 26 months. But let's get into that. Before we do, I want to remind you of a story that I told once before about Robert. Robert was a friend of ours in Anglaise, staying in the same building that we were in. He got sick. Now, first off, he had no home contact, a keyword or something along those lines that friends could use to, contact the family if anything were to happen. And it did. Robert ended up in the hospital. The family thought that when others were trying to contact the family that maybe there was a scam going on, so they didn't send any money, guys. And then when Robert recovered enough to get out of the hospital, he knew he had to go back to the US. His embassy said, go deal with your overstay. But I'm really sick. I got to get back to... Go deal with your responsibility. And so he did, and he got back to the US. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, guys. So that will lead into another little thing before we get into the main ramble, and that is your responsibility to not only yourself, but your family and those around you. Get checked medically once in a while. Make sure you don't have something nasty going on that, all of a sudden creeps up and you find out that maybe it's terminal. So as guys, we have a bad habit of not getting checked. There's a reason why so many diseases say that they are primarily women. I don't believe it for a second. Men just don't get checked. Okay, but let's get into the ramble of responsibility. The Filipino people are eager and quick to help you at any chance they get for a fee. And so often, this fee just goes out into the ether. You got to be careful, guys. There are some reputable companies out there, but even they slip on occasion. And all I have to cite is I've been in Anglaise long enough to know that slips happen, messages don't get back, all sorts of different stuff, but you have to ultimately take the responsibility for not overstaying. The Philippines gave everybody a good grace period, and they put the notice out, we're going to give you a continued grace period, but it's time now, guys. You got to start making your way and getting your overstay monthlies paid up and get your house in order. Some people ended up being in their third year during the lockdown, and of course, as soon as it was over, you had to start looking at opportunities to exit, and then for many of us, just re-enter right away. But you got to take responsibility for this. The Philippines is a dangerous place from the standpoint that they treat us very well here, guys. They do. I mean, when I first got here, they used to use my name and they would call me Sir Ken. That drives me crazy. I am not an elitist. I don't believe in the elitism, but they use it. And you know what? It makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. Even Rosindo, he refuses to use my name. He calls me Sir. Okay, I can accept that. It's that next level of complacency. Overstay is one of them. But the other one, another vlogger pointed out that a whole bunch of expats ended up having their houses come to a full stop because there was no building permit. The architect pocketed the money. Now, let me get corrected here. The general contractor or the architect or the engineer, I'm not sure. But in any case, they had no building permit, so now their house is at a full stop. Lynn is not one of these people that does any of that. If we had an architect, she'd be walking in right on his heels. She would pay the bill. She would see all the signatures. She would take all the copies. We would never have trusted, maybe because we've been here that long, we would never have trusted that to all just happen and come flying out of the ether and be done. No, take the responsibility. I remember going to the VFW once in Angeles. They were having either a monthly or whatever meeting, and the guy stood up and he said, this was early on, probably 2013 maybe, and he stood there and he said, if any of you peckerheads go out and buy yourself an Escalade, black out the windows, and you come crying to me because somebody, you know, maybe even backed into him, yeah, right, get a lawyer. Don't come crying to me. You're setting yourself up, you're making yourself a target. That's just going to happen. I think I've got a little visitor. But you got to take responsibility for it, guys. It's just something that, you know, you're in a foreign country, and I can just imagine, we've all watched, you know, various shows, Locked Up Abroad, and the airport one that, you know, is in all, Canada has one, the States has one, Australia. And time and time and time again, there's somebody that's bringing in seeds or doing things that you know damn well are illegal. And in many cases, you know, they just say, yeah, you can't do it. They toss it in the garbage and you walk through. It's not a free thing to go to another country. There are a whole bunch of rules. One of them is you're not supposed to talk politics. You're not supposed to engage in politics. That's just how it is. That's the rules. Okay, let's wrap that up, guys. But let's take full responsibility. Let's not slough it off. If we do use an agent, let's make sure that we track that agent at all the different steps and say that you want updates on every single step, because they do disappear into the ether. Happens all the time, especially on the overstays. Aye. Later, Gators.